welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James and I do fountain pen, ink, and paper reviews. And today I am out of the 107-degree weather for a glass of tea. And I want to share with you some things about fountain pen ownership that I learned while taking the 3-pen challenge. Now maybe you're not familiar with what that 3-pen challenge is. Whether you're new to fountain pens or whether you have a large collection, there's something in today's video for you that I think you will learn as I did about this 3-pen challenge. So Drew over at Goulet Pens has this discipline that he does, that he doesn't like to have more than 3 pens inked at a time. Now for some of you that sounds totally reasonable. You don't either. Some of you only like to have 1 pen inked at a time. And for others of you that sounds absolutely psychotic. Now I didn't say that, Drew. I'm just speaking for some people on the other side of the screen over there. They think it's psychotic. I didn't say it. Anyway, the challenge is to have only 3 pens inked. So some people have put their own twists on this. Maybe 3 pens inked for a week, or 3 pens inked for 30 days, 3 pens at a time, or only 3 certain pens, period, for this week. You can't clean it and go and get another. You're going to use these 3 pens. Different people put their own twist on it and personalize it. You do you, but I do think it's good to go through this discipline every now and then and just try it. So that's what I did. Why did I do that? I'll tell you quickly why. You see here a box of about a dozen of my favorite pens. Of course, my favorite pens is like most of the pens I own. But here are a bunch of my favorite pens that I have in regular, all of these are in regular rotation, right? Right now, they're all clean. And that, to me, is awesome. There is something satisfying, therapeutic, cathartic, however you want to put it, about having a full, clean tray of pens. But over here, where you can't see, I have 23 pens, all of which are inked. Some of them are even, there's like duplicates of ink. There are only 17 individual inks. I know these numbers because I was testing Ayush paper for a review that's going to be coming out the first week probably of August. And I was listing the pens that I had inked so that I could try different pens, different nib sizes, and different inks on the paper. And as I did, I realized that even though I was writing very small, this paper was filling up. I went, how many pens do I have inked right now anyway? Well, more than will fit on that one sheet of paper. 23 pens, 17 inks, and there are more in a case right there. In a laptop case, there's probably 1 or 2, and there's a few in there on my desk and a couple at the office. And this is the rabbit hole you go down. I'm warning you new pen users, this is the rabbit hole that you go down. But you know what? I wouldn't give for it. I love writing with the pens. I love the variety of inks, nibs, resins of the pen, the way they look and all that good stuff. And so I think that part's awesome. But could I be more disciplined in the way that I keep my pens organized and clean? Well, yeah, always, right? So I put myself to the 3-pen challenge. My modifications were this: 3 pens per week, and it would be those 3 pens all week long that were for my personal writing use, all that good stuff, work, class, all that good stuff. Then I would allow 1 backup pen, which would be a pocket pen, because there are many times where the pens that I was using, those 3 pens, just didn't work with what I was wearing. I couldn't put it in my pants pocket because it might damage the pen. Maybe the pen is beautiful resin like this. I ain't gonna put that in my jeans pocket or whatever. So I would allow myself a pocket pen and 1 pen that is a review related pen. And I just found that while doing those reviews, sometimes a pen would come in that I would want to do a first impressions review of, and so I would ink that pen. But all of my personal writing, all of my work, and all of that kind of stuff would be these 3 pens for the week. And at the end of the week, I did this every Sunday. Sunday evening, I would clean my 3 pens and pick 3 more, and I enjoyed it, actually. I actually did, Drew. I liked the challenge. I liked the discipline of it. I like some things about it. Now, you're going to say, well, then why are there 23 pens inked on your desk, James? Fair question, right? Totally fair question. Well, there's 23 pens on my desk with ink in them because while it did great things for my pen habit, I decided that for me and in what I'm what I'm doing with my pens and everything else, that I want to do this from time to time, kind of like intermittent fasting. Every now and then I will do this. I will reset all the cleaning of my collection, make sure that everything is cleaned completely when I start the 3-pen challenge. But I decided it was something I want to do intermittently. That's the way that I'm going with this right now, because it does have some benefits, and that's what I want to share with you today, some things that I learned while doing the challenge. All right, so what's the first thing that I learned? Well, the first thing is I learned, James, you got too many pens inked. And that's a problem for this reason. I gave you some things that I like about having all these pens inked. I have all different kinds of things. Like I've got the little Lilliput with an emerald green ink in it from Diamine that I like. Another green that's darker is the Jinhao 95 with Sherwood Forest green. Great pen, really great budget pen. I have a Jinhao sky blue ink in my TWSBI Swipe. Just a beautiful ink, and I really love that. I have Diamine Sargasso C in the TWSBI Eco. Awesome colored ink. I have a Pen BBS 456 with Monteverde chocolate pudding brown ink in it. And I could go on and on over here of why I've got a Flex Nib in the Noodlers Ahab with their turquoise ink. Just all kinds of stuff all over this table, and I love being able to grab that. But it also causes problems. Every now and then I forget a pen has ink in it, and that pen gets crudted up. If you're new to fountain pens, let me tell you, you don't want that to happen. Certain inks can damage a pen if left too long. Certain colors of ink, I find brown, I mentioned this brown pen for example, they do a weird crudding, chunky thing with their inks, and it doesn't seem to matter brand or anything like that. It's something about pens with brown and red. Inks do the same thing, so I think it's actually kind of the red, orange inks do as well. They chunky and cruddy, and that can stop up a feed and cause all kinds of problems. That actually happened with this pen, which is now very clean, but only because I put it through a sonic cleaner, because the ink, I thought I had cleaned it out, and I was wrong. And that one just crudded up the feed. Could have been permanently damaging, and if I hadn't had a sonic cleaner, I could not have gotten that cleaned up enough. But now it's working perfectly well. Had I done the 3-pen challenge when I was using that pen and when I put it down, that would not have happened. But I have often too many inked pens, which also keeps me from being able to just immediately ink up pens. I got this today in the mail, and Moon Man, it's an older pen, but brand new in the box. Moon Man M600 in dark teal, beautiful pen, can't wait to try that out, but I'm not going to for weeks because too many inked pens. If I were still doing the 3-pen challenge at the moment, well, I would just put this in next week's rotation and get right to it for a week. And a week teaches you other things about pens. And that brings us to the third thing that I want to share with you, which is I found it easier to rotate through when I only had 3 pens inked. And that's counterintuitive, because having 23 pens right here, you would think that surely that makes it easier for me to rotate through these. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. It does if I'm only wanting to rotate through these. But as I said, I'm not going to put ink in this one until all of these are out of ink. How long is that going to take me to get ink out of these pens if I don't just go ahead and wash them out and waste ink? It's going to be quite a while, even with a lot of writing, even rotating through them all because of volume. And so I will actually get to this pen slower because of all those than I would if I were on the 3-pen challenge. And I found that doing that allowed me to put a pen up and grab another that maybe I wouldn't have used anywhere near as soon because I had already had too many pens inked, and I just told myself, I don't need to ink that one up. So I actually worked through my pens faster. Related to that is the fourth benefit that I learned from this, and that is that I rediscovered some pens that I had not used in quite a while because I was rotating. And as I rotated, sometimes I did it by brand, sometimes I did it by type, and so I would go digging through and say, you know, what have I not used in a while? And I would find a pen and get that out, and I would rediscover it. And I would realize, because I was using it for an entire week and not just, intermittently here and there because it was one of 23, I would remember, that's why I loved that pen. That's why I thought that one was so good. And so I rediscovered some pens that were in my collection and rediscovered why I liked them, because writing with them for a week gives you a better understanding of the personality of a pen than using it for 5 minutes as one among 23. And that then made me look forward every week to, now what am I going to use? And so I would find myself around Wednesday or Thursday thinking, what am I going to, I'm enjoying these pens. What am I going to use next week? For example, looking at what is out here on the table, if none of these were inked at all, I would be looking forward to this 480 in Frostfire, and I've been wanting to use this pen, and so I would ink that one up, and this new teal one. And think about that. What a great variety of pens that would be going through a week. All of them a distinct personality. Some different filling mechanisms are going on here as well. You've got cartridge converter and piston filler. And so, you start to anticipate the use of certain pens. And if you've gotten bored with your collection, it actually creates anticipation of, next week I'm going to use this old favorite, and this one I'm going to use. And maybe you got a vintage pen over here that you've not used very much, and you don't leave it inked because it's vintage. And you say, I'm going to use them, and use that all week. And you start to rediscover your own collection, which, by the way, saves you money, because you didn't need to buy any new pens. You just needed to enjoy the ones that you already had in your collection. So you get that bonus as well. So there you go. There are my top 5 things that I learned while doing the 3-pen challenge. If you've done this challenge or one similar to it, share in the comments below. What did you find that you liked about it? Do you think it's totally psycho? What do you think about this challenge? Or do you have a disaster story about pens you forgot to clean that might actually give a new pen user a good reason to take this challenge on? All right, God bless you, and have a great week.